stress the importance of cybersecurity. I've been in banking pretty much my entire life, and I can tell you that when you look from a banking perspective and what we see of customers' accounts and all of the everything that the bad guys are trying to do to get money to hack into people's accounts, it's really scary. And so this is not just for people that handle the money. Many of the examples I'll go through are so when someone clicked on an email, it downloaded malicious software that people can steal customer information. They can hold your computer for ransomware. So I think when I go through this, you're going to hear some things that are similar to what Ben said, but we'll also give you some examples. And the end goal of this is just to make you aware. So many times we get up in the morning, come to work, click on email, and just really don't pay attention sometimes to some of the things that are clicking on one link. Like I said, can create some big time problems. So I'll walk you through this. And Amanda, I'm assuming you can see my screen right now.
Yes.
Okay, I'm Kevin Strickland. I'm the director of nonprofit and association banking at Ameris. Have known Gary Williams for a long time, and we've worked with them the last couple of years to develop some programs to be able to help water systems. And this is an example of one of trying to give you guys education that can help you in your day-to-day operations. I'll give you some stats. Data breaches in the first half of 2019, there's 4.1 billion records that were exposed, which if you think about that number, it's mind-boggling of so much information that's being stolen. Human error, 95% of breaches are caused by human error. Human error, again, could be responding to an email that looks like it's from someone that you know, and I'll give you some examples of that. And I think Ben mentioned this, but 94% of malware attacks were delivered via email. Now, there is a rise in text fraud, which is called smishing, which we'll talk about in a second as well, where fraudulent links are being sent via text. And so what you're starting to see is people are paying a little more attention to emails for malicious emails. But, when we get a text, sometimes you just click on it thinking it's someone you know. So that's also a big trend right now. Every 39 seconds, someone is trying to hack a system 2,200 times a day. So this is the days where people, tried to come in and steal money from the evolution of, robbing a bank to the digital age. It is a changed environment now. And when you look at local governments, water systems, and we've seen plenty of examples in Florida, 50% increase in that since 2017. And I know Ben mentioned Oldsmar, but Collier County lost 184,000 as a result of somebody clicking on an email. Naples, which you probably heard of that, 700,000, which was an email that was sent from a contractor that the city was actually doing work with that contained a link where money was wired out. So the bottom line is this is real. It's happening every day. And even if you're an operator in the field, you've got a big part to be able to make sure you're protecting the data. It's not just the people that are handling the money. So there's three common threats that I'll go through in the time we have. And again, Ben touched on some of these, and so you can kind of look at this as a reinforcement of that message, and giving you some other perspectives in addition to what he talked about. Business email compromise is still the number one way that fraud's being committed. And as I just showed you, there is emails that are coming out with links in them that look legitimate. That's the number way. Smishing, which I'll cover as well, I mentioned, is through texting. And the last one is, which is really scary, is ransomware. I've had people who've been customers of the bank. That's happened to. I also one of my family members who owns a business. This happened to them, and they had to pay. And you look in Florida, we could go through numerous examples where ransomware has resulted, and information being locked up, and the only way you can get it is to pay. And many have chosen to pay as opposed to all their information of their customers, and everyone involved goes out to whoever the everyone out in the public. So I want to walk through business email compromise, and I'll give you some examples of this. Just to look at some specific statistics, there's a 100% increase in business email compromises, exposed losses, and this is during this pandemic. That's increased. A lot of people are working remotely now, and so there's a lot more emails that are going out and trying to trick people, given the fact that we're not all together as much. So it's increased. So May 2020 to July, in that time frame, 100% increase. Business email compromise have at least 5.3 billion in total losses, and 24,000 companies around the world. And the third quarter of 2020, the median number of business email compromise received per company each week rose 15%. And 65% of companies have faced business email compromises in 2020. And so 99%, either your computers or your company's firewall may protect it. Some, you look at and don't click on, but many, get through. Attackers are, every single day coming at us, and bad guys are trying to get information and money. So bottom line is 67% of business email compromises lead to fraud, ransomware, and data breaches. How that's done is hackers will research. So the smart ones will do their homework. They'll identify leadership in an organization, and they will customize messages and emails that look like they're coming from, maybe it's the system operator or the general manager. And then attack, once they've done the research, they'll stage the attack. And Ben mentioned something that I'll reinforce. You could have somebody who came into the office and looked like a janitor and plugged a USB drive into the back of one of the computers, and that can be used for multiple purposes, including key logging, where they can look at start to see patterns of different words, passwords that you're putting in. So that's one way, but also looking at social media, and we'll get to that in a second. And then once that happens, the data is then sent back to the person who's hacked the system. So this is one that is very common. It's called spear phishing, which starts with attackers who will spoof the domain of your company's account. And so I've given you some examples. And if you've got an email, and let's say the company was Principal Pipe, and you looked at these two examples and you weren't looking carefully how they're spelled, they're completely different emails. And if you're not looking carefully and you clicked on the wrong one, that could lead to a malicious attack. And then if you look at the one that says Microsoft down here, it actually doesn't say Microsoft, but when you look at it closely, you can see that if you clicked on this, you're not going to Microsoft. And we've had many times of stories of people that have clicked on links they think from the bank, and they're actually not. So make sure you're hovering over these links to make sure it's going to the when you click on that, it's going to the correct place. So there's usually a sense of urgency to do something when you get an email, and then the response is, if you're getting something that's coming from the CEO of a company, then you tend to do it quick. So a lot of times they'll attack early in the morning when you're not, haven't had your coffee, late in the day when you're trying to get email done, when you may not be looking as closely. And then it when they get that information, and again, we could spend 45 minutes going through examples just in Florida. It creates CEOs fired, CFOs fired, lawsuits are filed, and it just creates an absolute nightmare. And this all starts from clicking on an email that you think is legitimate when it's not. Let me give you an example, and Facebook, social media is something that is very easy to create fake accounts. I know for me, I get invitations from people I know, and they're not those people. Their accounts have been hijacked. But when I talk about researching key individuals, the ones that are the smart ones will take their time, and it doesn't take long. I could go to any of your websites, click on about. I could see the roles of everyone in the organization. And so in this case, you've got somebody who's high up in the organization. They can look at posts for specifics, including your job duties, descriptions, out of town travel. Here's an example right here. Somebody posted a picture that said, hey, they're out of town, they're coming back next week. And then fake social media accounts can create it appearing they're legit, and information about that individual it can legitimize a business email attack. Excuse me. And one of the examples here is if your passwords are things like your dog's name or something that is you put on social media, just be careful what you're loading on social media, because that information can be used to infiltrate your business. So here's another example. So if this is easy to do, so if I saw that, I could hack into the system, use an email address that looks the same, use the picture of whoever the manager is, put a link, and I know I get these. It's a conference that it looks like a PowerPoint presentation, which is actually malware. And so if you look at this, glad you're back. Looks like you and Susan had a great time on your trip, which is that. And I've attached some information about a conference. I think we should attend, review it. So if you click on that link, you're thinking it is from someone who works at your office, and it's downloading malware on your computer. And once you click that link, you potentially could be giving the bad guys access to all your information, to ransomware, and as simple as something that quite frankly, if we didn't look at this closely, we all could do. The point is that they do their homework. Most of these are coming from China, and they are not they're not necessarily kids in the basement spinning out 500 emails to people hoping someone will click on it. So that's one thing. And again, Ben talked about this. I just wanted to give you some real examples to make sure you're careful with this, because as you see, it's easy to do. Smishing is something I mentioned earlier that is also becoming a big trend right now. And it's kind of scary when you look at this stuff. Of someone can trick you into giving their private information. A quick example is I had one of our senior executives at the bank was visiting me in Tallahassee, where I'm from. And the next day, I got a text that looked like it was from him saying, "I enjoyed yesterday. I need you to send me a text at this number because there's a customer we need to help." Well, when I looked at that, my first reaction was, how would someone know I was with him? And I had to catch myself from doing that. The other thing, and this is what is pretty scary, is spyware. If you Google spyware apps, you will see pages where you can simply, this can be downloaded on your phone. Most of it's free for 30 days, $30 a month. There are even ways, depending on what type of phone you're using, that you could click on a link or a picture that someone sent you, and it can put spyware on your phone. It's a little difficult to do, but if, for instance, somebody gets your Apple ID, your password, they can gain access to your phone. So they can access your camera to your phone. And I'm sure many of you have seen horrible stories where people have done this. They can record calls, they can get your text messages, they can get into your email, they can respond from your email, and any file stored on your phone they can get. So for instance, if you no one would ever admit this, but if you've got in your contacts, you keep your passwords so you'll remember them on your phone. If somebody gets in there, they can see every single password, including your personal account. If you've got any login information on there from the system you work for, they can get all of that. Here's an example of one. This is a real popular one. It's called AutoForward. And you'll see it's called OTA, over the air link, which enables remote downloading, so they don't have to have the phone. So there's two ways you can put it on. If you leave your phone around and let's say you don't have it where it locks, it takes 3 minutes. You can download an app that information's on your phone, can sit there in the background. There's also ways that you can send emails, you can send text messages that can download that information on your phone. You'll never know that's happening, and everything is being uploaded to another phone. They can see your text messages, your social media, keyloggers, so they're able to go in and look at, again, if you're using a passcode, you're putting it in over your phone, they're able to see those that information and get access to your confidential information. They can record calls, remote listening, stealth camera. So they can send a remote command to a phone to snap a picture. And you'll see down here, low price, one-time fee of $29 with no monthly subscription, and works with all Androids and cell phones. So this is stuff, I know for me, never had to even think about. But with the advent of technology, this is becoming more and more common. It's still very difficult to do, but it is pretty easy, and it's pretty cheap to do as well. Some ways that you can tell if your phone may be infected with that. If you're getting unusual data usage spikes, something is running in the background of your phone. So your battery may drain quickly, when it's not the case of having an old battery. Apps take a long time to launch. Your cell phone's doing crazy things like restarting for no reason. background noise. If you've got apps on there that you don't remember installing, and I think this is the good example was in Oldsmar, where somebody got remote access and they were, the cursor was moving around the screen. And, we're all starting to get this, a lot of calls from unrecognized numbers are coming through. I know that happens commonly with me, and they're coming from area codes that are 850, which are around me too. So these are, this is, I'm not trying to say that if all these things are happening, somebody's spying in on your phone, but they're the things to be conscious of. And if you see this, you just want to make sure that you don't have somebody who's spying in through your phone. Some ways to avoid smishing is third-party app software. Android is especially susceptible. Only install applications that are by trusted developers. If you look on the App Store and you see they've got a review of 1 and 4 people have downloaded it, usually they try to filter that out so it doesn't make it to the store. But if you see things like that, don't put your credit card, your banking information, passwords in your smartphone. Never click a reply link to a phone number in a message you're not sure about. So if you get a text and it's a number and saying, hey, text me here, I need to tell you something, make sure you don't do that. And visit trusted websites directly from a text message. So a big thing right now is with people getting tax refunds and from the IRS is you may get a link that says, hey, we need to verify your information from this comes from the IRS. Be very careful with clicking on those links. And the last one, I'll move quickly here because I'm looking at our time. Ransomware, Ben talked about this, 4,000 attacks a day. Organizations pay an average of almost $250,000 to unlock computers. There's also a lot of downtime after a ransomware attack. And so you see some of these statistics, but between Q2 and Q3 of 2020, attacks rose 388%. So this is kind of the in vogue thing right now, if that's a good way to say that. But this is pretty scary stuff that you just got to be careful of. Here's an actual screenshot of a ransomware. You come into you come into work in the morning, you open up your computer, and then you see this. And basically they say, if you don't pay this amount of money, we're going to lock your system, we're going to delete your files, or we're going to share your information. And they're serious. There is a story in, I believe it was Baltimore, where they decided we're not paying them. And they ended up paying $50 million after lawsuits and everything to recover this information. It's very difficult to track. They use Bitcoin. So some of the final tips, and again, Ben's got some other great ones in his. Be careful what you're sharing online, like pets' names, schools you attend. Make sure you're not using that information as passwords, and also understand that people can use that to personalize messages to you. Any unsolicited emails you get, text message that ask you to update your account information, if they send you the company's phone number, call the company directly. That's same with a vendor. If you get a message like I showed you, that PowerPoint, you need to call before if something looks suspicious. And look at email addresses. Hover over the email address and look carefully for the spelling used. And when I look at, I know we've got a lot of operators on the phone, and you guys are out in the field, noise going on, and you may click on an email and not look carefully at it. And that's not because you're not doing your job. It's just the nature of what we do, and sometimes just don't pause and think, and be careful what you download. if your organization doesn't have, like, we can't even pull up YouTube here at the bank, that you've got filters of what you can download. Be very wary of that. So again, I'll just say that probably the biggest advice here is to slow down and think and understand the consequences, because this is going on like crazy right now. Again, I could give you a lot more examples, but if we can help you with that, certainly you could email me. We do have experts in our bank who deal in cybersecurity. So any other questions that you have, be more than happy to help you. But appreciate the FRWA of putting this on. This is really important information, and thanks for your leadership and sharing and this information with everyone.